And welcome back to my channel. And again, thank you always for listening. And this is going to be an exciting weekend. We are finally here. The NCAA Division One Indoor Championships for the amazing 2025 season that we have had. We've had a number of different storylines take place. The team title battle really kind of took shape after conference championships, and even more so once the declaration and the noted scratches have taken place. So, just as a heads up, big on the team battle, it looks like the Florida men are going to kind of be completely out of it, unfortunately. Both Wanye McCoy and Genoa McIver, their two big point scorers, are both out. Malcolm Clemens didn't have the season that he wanted in the long jump, and they weren't able to really see anyone step up in the triple jump to qualify. They are unfortunately only sitting their 4x4 relay, so that immediately takes them out of the team title battle. Another big, I guess, shock for me is on USC side. I was curious to see what was going to happen with Max Thomas because he had that great start to the beginning of the season, and then just we didn't hear about a lot of him. But he's shown up and listed here, so I'm curious to see what he does in regards to getting points. But we have an amazing expected video. The format is very different. Normally there's a four leg format, but today's show we're simply just going to do a preview first of the men's and then of the women's, and we're going to go event from start with the running events, then move to the field events, and we'll start from the shortest to the longest distance, and then we'll end with the relays. I have everything all set here, so we'll look at who are the three major contenders, and then I will pick a winner for each event. And it'll be fun once we do the recap show to see how many I got right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the preview. We'll start on the men's side with the very first event, the 60-meter dash, and it looks like to be Auburn all day. You have Israel Okan, Kenyon Sola Ajayi, both of Auburn, the 1-2, and then you have J.C. Stevenson of USC, the number 3. This has been a really fast year. 6.57 in the 60 was the cutoff. That is insane. So you could even have gone under 6.6. I think at beginning of the season I said 6.6 was under 6.6 would be the cutoff. I'm thinking 6.59. There were so many 6.58 and 6.59 guys who were sitting at home. But great field, and I'm looking at J.C. Stevenson to be the winner of USC. I think he is the top guy. Don't you know? I don't doubt that. I think he's going to have a great meet. I think he's a huge part of USC's team title hopes, and I think they're going to have an equally strong season. I think when we come to outdoor, we're going to look at a three-way battle in who's got the most depth in the 100, and I think it'll be between Auburn, USC, and Texas Tech. But Israel Okun, Kenyon Sola Ajayi of Auburn, and J.C. Stevenson are the top three, with J.C. Stevenson being my winner. In the 200, we have another Auburn guy. You have Makanakashe Sharamba, who is leading the nation. And then you have another contender I have listed as Jaden Reed of LSU. And then Jamarian Stubbs of Alabama State. And can't ignore Stubbs. He had a great outdoor season. I remember when I was doing my preview, I said he'll probably come on strong late or, at midpoint of the season. And he was more strong late because he had an incredible SWAC championships. And he's in a conference where he doesn't really have a whole lot of competition, but he does have some. And I think he'll step up here, but I don't predict him to win. I do think it'll be Makanakashe Charamba. I think he is our winner in the 200. The next event we're going to look at is the 400, just as we go up in event size. In the 400, you have Nathaniel Ezekiel of Baylor, Ahmad Robinson of Texas A&M, Judson Lincoln the fourth of Virginia Tech. Nathaniel Ezekiel of Baylor currently leads the nation at 44.85. This has been his converted time. But I am not picking him to win. Surprise, I'm going with Ahmad Robinson. He's gotten better literally each week. He's so far to me been the fastest of the 400-meter runners, which tells me there's still some improvement there. I do think he'll run mid to low, not low, I'll say mid to high 44, and I think he'll have enough to beat Ezekiel. I wouldn't be shocked if Ezekiel won, but I'm trusting Ahmad Robinson to be the winner of Texas A&M, and they're also looking for an opportunity to get the team title. Moving up to the 800, we have Tanada Matsatsa of Georgetown, Aiden McCarthy of Cal Poly, who leads the nation, Darius Kipyego of Iowa State. And I always mention Kipyego whenever I'm doing an 800-meter preview because he always puts up a great time. But it seems that at championship meets he can be a little hit or miss sometimes. But I think he'll be effective here. But I really do think it'll be Tanada Matsatsa who wins this. He broke the 1,000-meter record and at the early portion of the season, and I've been convinced of him and his success ever since. I think he is really talented, and I think he's going to have a great outdoor season to go along with what I'm expecting to be a championship indoor season. Now, moving to the mile, we have the 1,500-meter champion that I think we can't ignore, even though the Big Ten meet didn't go the way he wanted, and that's Nathan Green of Washington. Washington is a very strong middle distance program, and I think they're going to score a lot of points between the mile, the 800, the DMR, and the 3K. Um, Rowan McMahon Staggs, also of Washington, is another challenger. And then you have Colin Solomon of Northern Arizona, still waiting for Solomon, to kind of overtake the Washington guys. He was an outstanding talent coming out of Newberry Park, and I still think he's an outstanding talent. I just think it's going to be kind of hard to beat Nathan Green. Can it be done? Clearly, it can. But I think Nathan Green is my expected champion, and but I do look forward to this being a fantastic but tactical race. Then we're looking at the 3K, and this is where we have those great milers that we saw break or come close to breaking one NCAA record, but one breaking one, and that's Ethan Strand of North Carolina, Parker Wolf of North Carolina, his teammate, and Gary Martin of Virginia. They have stepped up to an event, and I think one of the primary reasons is so that they can run the DMR and have a legit shot at winning. I think that's going to be a heck of a race. Day one, I think we're going to get plenty of fireworks in the DMR. Um, and I'm going to surprise you. I know Ethan Strand broke the NCAA record, and Parker Wolf ran the best 5K I've seen in person in my life. I repeat that repeatedly on this channel. But I'm going to go with Gary Martin of Virginia. He really has been the main challenger. He was an outstanding recruit coming out of high school. He's kind of been there, been sort of the leader of the pack for Virginia. And I think the 3K may actually be his better event. So I am picking him to win the 3K to shock the field. Uh, I think he is due for a winning performance on the big stage. Then you have the 5K. And in the 5K, you have Hepton Samuel of New Mexico, which, I know they had some change in coaching, but it still seems to be working there. You have Yassine Abdallah, who is now at Arkansas, and Patrick Kiprop, also of Arkansas. And I think the obvious favorite for me is Hapton Samuel. I think once Graham Blanks went pro from Harvard, it really was Hapton Samuel's race to lose. And I think he's not going to lose it. I think he might even win this pretty comfortably. I think this will be huge for Arkansas in team points if they can get Abdallah and Kiprop to go 2-3 or one of them pull off the win. But either way, even 2-3 is 14 team points. This has an opportunity to be big for Arkansas. And so we're going to move to the barrier event. And the barrier event is the hurdles, not no indoor steeplechase. Move this down here because this is how it looks on the descending list sheet. You have Johnny Brackens of USC, Malachi Snow of Texas Tech, and then Jacoby Tharp of Auburn. Those are three phenomenal hurdlers. I think this is going to be a fantastic race. So I think anyone's breaking Grant Holloway's record, no. But I still think this winner will probably run the low 7.4s. And Brackets has been the guy, and I follow him on social media. I think he is an incredible talent. But I just cannot ignore Malachi Snow's speed. And I think once his technique matches speed, I really think, and I said this at the beginning of the year, I really don't think anyone can beat him. And I'm going to pick him. I initially did not plan to pick him. At the beginning of the season, in the preview, I said it was going to be Brackens. And I would not be shocked if it was, but I'm very comfortable with Malachi Snow being the winner. Jacoby Tharp is going to be there. I do think outdoor is his better race, and I think outdoor will be having a very different story. But I think it'll be Malachi Snow to pull off the win. I still think that Brackens will be a big part of USC's team title hopes. And now moving from the individual events to the relay, we'll start with the 4x4. And 4x4, you have three major teams because Florida, they have a lot of young talent, and they're probably going to be a top five 4x4 team, but they're going to be without Wayne McCoy and without Genoa McIver, which highlights to them their great depth. But I don't think anyone is going to be beating Texas A&M, Arkansas, or USC, and I think it will be A&M probably running away with it. And I'm thinking a 301. I am. I think they're going to give low 301. It'll be one of the three greatest performances we probably ever seen in the 4x4. And I do think Arkansas and USC will put up a great fight, but I don't think they're beating A&M. And it's here's the kicker in this. USC, I believe, qualified all three of its 400 guys, and Texas A&M, I believe, only qualified one, maybe two. But they run better as a collective. They do. USC has this, and if it comes down to the 4x4 for the team title, you'll probably get more out of USC than we've seen in a long time. I just do not see them beating Texas A&M with the way Texas A&M has ran this season. USC has three great legs. They're missing that fourth leg. This is where having Justin Braun would have been a bonus. Because if they've had him, then I think the team title battle would have been wrapped up. That's just too much. They have an onslaught of talent. Although they're very sprint heavy and jumps heavy, they have enough. But I think the 4x4 will be won by Texas A&M. Then you have the event I think that will have all the fireworks, the DMR. And I know Washington broke the NCAA record on an oversized track, and the record doesn't get officially slated. I don't really care. The distance is the same. I really legitimately think Washington is probably the best middle distance program we've had since, I'll say, the early 2000s when Arkansas and Michigan were going at it, specifically at the Penn Relays when I was a high school student. I mean, I just remember looking at track and field news and seeing, them going back and forth when Michigan had Ellen Webb and, Arkansas had their cadre of great distance runners. It's been a while since we've seen a school just have a bevy where they're just an onslaught. Like, they're going to have guys on that DMR who that's all they do. But if they weren't running the DMR and, you know, if they had the potential to be individual All-Americans on their own. They have so much depth in that event. Then you have Virginia and North Carolina. And I think we're going to get incredible times out of Virginia and incredible time out of North Carolina. This is going to be a fast race to me. But I do think Washington is probably going to win it. North Carolina, to me, has a better chance of being second than Virginia does, simply because I think we're going to get both Parker Wolf and Ethan Strand on that DMR. We'll see, but to me, it's Washington's race to lose. I just think they're that much ahead. And now, moving to our field events, we'll start with the high jump. And I have been mentioning this young man all year, and that's Tyus Wilson of Nebraska. He's not the number one guy, but I'm mentioning him first as a contender. Then you have Scotty Vines of Arkansas, and then you have Kyron Washington of Oklahoma. Tyus Wilson has been my favorite all year. Granted, Scotty Vines of Arkansas was big for the team title battle. He's having an outstanding freshman season, probably one of the best freshman high jump seasons we've seen. I believe 7 feet 6, just outstanding talent. But to me, Tyus Wilson, this is kind of like long overdue, and I've said this multiple times. Nebraska is probably the best school when it comes to technique and field events, not named Illinois because Petros is there. Hats off to him on what looked to me from beginning to end to be an outstanding indoor season, and I think he'll cap it off with the title. I really do. Kyron Washington is the next high jumper from Oklahoma. They lose Turner, and now they've got Kyron Washington. We're going to hear about him. We know the future will be between him and Vines. So the high jump, look for some big marks and some great competition in the future. And then we'll move to the pole vault. This to me is still the most open event, but I think the three guys that I have listed: Alexander Solovev of Texas A&M, Hunter Garrettson of Akron, and Seaman Guttersman of Duke. And I love Garrettson of Akron. I'm always rooting for the Mac guys, and hopefully this championship things go well for him because unfortunately he's just had a history of things not going well. I'm actually going to surprise and go with the young man from Duke because even though it's not his brother, I still think he is the one missing out, and I think this may be his opportunity. So I'm going to go with Seaman Guttersman of Duke. In the long jump, we have what I think will be a great competition. In hopefully the event can make a comeback to where we're able to see more 27-foot jumpers. But you have J.C. Stevenson of USC, Kelsey Daniel of Texas, and Johnny Brackens of USC. This has the potential to be major for points for USC, kind of like how the jumps used to be for Florida. So I do have J.C. Stevenson winning it here, and I do think he'll pull off the double, be a huge 20-point performer for USC, and it'll be interesting to see what he does outdoors. He has the potential for more than that with the 4x1 being there. But J.C. Stevenson, I'm pretty comfortable with that. Even though he did lose to Brackens at the Big Ten championships, I felt that he didn't have enough time in the long jump because of what was going on with the venue. As you know, the Big Ten's right by the long jump, there was a fire. That's so strange. But I think he'll rebound here. And Brackets may be literally right on his tail. All right, and we'll move now to the triple jump. I like who I've picked. So let me talk about the contenders. Jonathan Ceremis of Missouri, Luke Brown of Kentucky, and Brandon Green of Oklahoma. In the preview at the beginning of the season, I said Brandon Green until Jonathan Ceremis took over the number one lead and then beat Green in person. Part of me wants to lean on Green just because, I've been watching him for over a year and he's really kind of performed well at the national championship, but I can't ignore the marks that Ceremis is putting up. 55-foot triple jumps. He really looks to have this event kind of on lock. And so I'm going to stick with him as my prediction to win the event. I think he is very solid. I do think that this event probably has the potential to go any which direction. All three of those guys compete in the SEC. They've already seen each other, and I've seen what that does at the national championships. It makes for interesting conversation. Now, moving on to the throws, you got the shot put, and you have Tariq Robinson O'Hagan, who is a defending champion, Fred Mudani Lickby of Cincinnati, and I'm going to include a third name that may surprise you because he hasn't been big this year, but he was big outdoors, and I think this is an opportunity for him to kind of come back. And that person is Dylan Taggart. I know. I think this is a great opportunity for Dylan Taggart to really remind people of what a top talent he is. But I'm pretty comfortable with Tariq Robinson O'Hagan as my pick. of Ole Miss, and I think we all know why. He's dominated all year long. He's already beaten Mudani Lickby of Cincinnati one-on-one. That was the young man that almost beat him, and he just further solidified himself. And weight throw, I'm, feeling very comfortable about the defending champion, Kenneth Ikiji of Harvard as well. But let's talk about the other contenders. You have Daniel Reynolds of Wyoming, Trey Knight of Cal State Northridge. Daniel Reynolds currently leads the NCAA, but I just don't think anyone's beating Kenneth Ikiji. He hasn't really gone against anyone. He hasn't been in a major meet. Reynolds and Knight have. But I think this is Ikiji's event. This was similar to last year. He was a dark horse I had listed, and he just came out like gangbusters and won it. And I think he'll do the same thing. I don't see anyone taking him down. The only person I think that has a shot really is Trey Knight, and that's not the slouch Reynolds. He earned the number one ranking, but Ikiji and Knight have been here before. In the heptathlon, you have really only two names to me that are worthy of the conversation. That's Peyton Bear of Mississippi State and Jip DeGreef of Illinois. Obviously, DeGreef being coached by Petros and the great Dennis Mitchell. And then you have Peyton Bear at Mississippi State, just just almost a freak of an athlete. So fast, so strong, and can jump so far. I think when things put it all together, he has the potential to be sort of like a Leo uh, Neusbauer, but let's just let him be what he is right now. And that to me, I think is going to be the NCAA champion in the heptathlon. I think he'll be better outdoors in the decathlon, but I think indoors he's a load to handle. And then you have your team title battle, and I think it's between Arkansas, USC, and Texas Tech. And I'm actually going to pick Arkansas to win it. I really, in my heart, want USC to win it, but Arkansas hits too many spaces. USC doesn't really have a lot of room for error. Everything has to go well in the 60, the 200, the 400, the 4x4, and the long jump. And in the hurdles, you have one hurdler. Outside of that, you're not really a threat of anywhere. Granted, you have the potential to score a lot of big points. But Arkansas is in the 60. They're in the 200. They're in the 400. I believe they're also in the 800, the mile, 3K, 5K, 4x4, field events. They're going to be there, and they have the potential to rack up so many points. It's just an onslaught. And I think Arkansas is the winner. I think Texas Tech has a similar vibe. They can score in a lot of places like a USC and an Arkansas in the sprints. But I think, they have it in more places than just the sprints and hurdles. But I think it will be between Arkansas and USC, with Arkansas winning. Now, let's move on to the women. And on the women's side, we'll get started with the 60-meter dash as well. And what a great race this should be. You have Tima God Bless of LSU, defending champion Brianna Liston of LSU, and Kayla Jackson, the SEC champion of Georgia, by way of Detroit Renaissance High School. I do think Liston is the defending champion going to win it. I think she learned something from losing to Kayla Jackson, and her teammate, Tima God Bless, also got a lesson because she didn't look the best. I was reading online and social media, everybody feels that LSU was off, and I said, don't forget, they missed a week and a half of training due to the weather. Really, it was 2 weeks, so they've been behind everyone. They had snow, and yes, they have the indoor facility, but I do think everything was shut down for a while when they were under that snow emergency. So they're at least a week off, potentially two, because that week that they were off, they had a major meet that they could have used to develop, used to pad to the times. And to me, Liston got started a little too late. I think she should have started at the end of January instead of early February. I think that would have helped. But I think she's, having been in the rounds within the SEC championship, she's learned. I think she also is aware if Kayla gets out on her, it's game over. Kayla Jackson has a phenomenal start and is a gamer. I've seen it in person. She didn't go to my high school, but I, support all of the Michigan kids. Detroit Renaissance High School, one of the great historical programs in the state of Michigan. She's been the best sprinter ever. So it's going to be a tough race, but I'm really confident in Brianna Liston being the favorite. The 200, the defending champion, Jamija Ford of South Carolina. Then you have Naisha Berger of UTEP by way of Jamaica. Then you have India Mayberry, the superstar freshman from TCU. And I think Berger and Mayberry will give her a challenge depending on lane assignments, but I think this is Ford's race. She's defending champion for a reason. She hasn't lost this year at all. In fact, this year has looked even easier for her than last year. She's already met her PR from last year. Her lowering her personal record means potentially breaking the NCAA record. We'll see if that's possible. I think if anybody can do it, it'll be her. But to me, I'm very comfortable with Jamija Ford being the favorite. The 400, you have Leah Butler of Georgia, Isabella Whitaker of Arkansas, and Kaylin Brown of Arkansas. This will probably be a race of 49 runners. Feels so vindicated with how they performed at the SEC meet. I was like, yes, I knew I was right about these 400 runners. This is a great field. And I said it in the preview, it will take 49 seconds to win, and it will. All three of these ladies have 49 in their blood. Isabella is new to the 49 range, but we're not shocked. Things have gone well with Arkansas, and her transferring from Penn to Arkansas was very smart. But I have a Leah Butler winning it, and I think she'll lower her PR again. And I think she's due for an outstanding outdoor season where she may even break the outdoor record. Now, moving up to the 800, I have Isabella's sister listed. She's a defending champion, by the way, in the 800, and that's Juliet Whitaker of Stanford, Sanu Jalu of Arkansas, and then you have Michaela Rose of LSU. Going into this event last year, I was all in on Michaela Rose. And although Michaela Rose, is an outstanding performer, when she met up against Juliet Whitaker, it just seemed to fall apart. And I just think that Juliet is too tough to beat, and she's looked that way this indoor season. She yanked that number one ranking right out of Sanu Jalu's hand when Sanu Jalu had a outstanding rabbit in that race in Amber Annie. But Juliet didn't need a rabbit, she just won. I think she is just a cut above Jalu and Rose, and that's why I'm picking her to win. Then you have the mile, and in the mile is where I do think the team title battle could take an interesting shape on the women's side. You have Cyan Iadiz of Oregon, Margot Appleton of Virginia, and then I also have Wilma Nielsen of Oregon. I'm curious to see how the Oregon runners do with that strong DMR they have because they got to go up against BYU, and BYU is loaded and it's going to have some fresher legs, I believe. But I do think Iadis is, the NCAA record holder, and I think she's being coached by Shalane Flanagan, not Woodley. I think I said Woodley in a video. I'm like, that's the actress. Sorry, Shalane Flanagan. And I think that Iodis is, going to lower her record. If not, she'll have a great tactical race. But on the women's side, it seems this is the meet where in the mile, they're not so conservative like the men can be. It's they go out and they push the pace. I'm gonna win this. And we saw that last year with Maya Ramson, and I thought last year we weren't gonna have an athlete like that this year. And I was wrong, big time wrong on the mile. We have a great field. But I think Ayudiz is gonna be a huge 10 team points for the Oregon Ducks. Now, moving up to the 3K, this is where things really can get interesting. I'm not as solid on this pick, but I'm going to go with it. I wrestled with my choice for a while. You have Lexi Holiday Lowry of BYU, Doris Lemon-Gold of Alabama, and Kimberly May of Providence. May is going to be big on Providence's DMR, and so is Holiday Lowry for BYU, which is why I'm trusting Lemon-Gold to win this. I think that she has the potential. I think the only person that was better than her last year, outside of Hilda Olamomoy, who last year was her teammate, was obviously Parker Velby. I think this is Lemon Gold's race to lose. Halliday Lowry, I think, will put up a great time along with Kimberly May, but I think this is Doris Lemon Gold's day. Now, moving to the 5K, Lemon Gold is listed as one of the contenders I have. along with Hilda Olamomoy of Florida. So you got Lemon Gold of Alabama, Olamomoy of Florida, and then Pamela Koskai of New Mexico. And I'm picking, shocker, Hilda Olamomoy of Florida. I think this is her opportunity. She has been on the outside looking in of Lemon Gold all year. Lemon Gold is competing in two events. She's competing in one. This is her one shot. And I think she will actually make it count here. I'm picking her to win the 5K over Lemon Gold, and I think it'll be close. I think Pamela Koskai is obviously the future in this event once Lemon Gold and Olamomoy move on. And that's when Lemon Gold moves on, because I do think she has a couple of more years of eligibility. Now, moving up to the hurdles, the barrier event indoors. This is to me a very close race because there's not an overwhelming favorite or overwhelming set of favorites like there was last year. Last year you had Grace Stark and Jasmine Jones and then the rest of the field. This year it's kind of, you know, a little more closer in time, 795 to 797. You have Onika Wilson of Clemson, Mariana Beebe of Tennessee, and Asia Lawrenson of Michigan by way of Oak Park High School. My parents' high school, ironically. And I'm picking Onika Wilson of Clemson. Even though I didn't like her race at the ACC, she didn't really have any, to me, any real competition. She was clearly the class of the field. That was an event I think the conference took a noticeable step back in, except for her. And I think she's been really the top gun all year long. I think BB, who's ran the same time, was pushed a little more in the SEC meet. And Lawrenson, although she didn't win the Big Ten, she ran the exact same time as the champion. It was given, the edge was given to Aaliyah McCormick of Oregon. I do think Lawrenson will redeem herself and perform better here. But I'm picking Wilson of Clemson. I think she's in the best position to win. I think she has the most speed. And I feel like she's just ready to win a title. She's been a name mentioned as a contender for a while. And now moving on to the 4x4, where we should have some real fireworks. Georgia, South Carolina, and Arkansas. And each team has a heavy hitter. For Georgia, it's Aaliyah Butler. For South Carolina, it's Jamesha Ford. And for Arkansas, really, it's actually two. You have Isabella Whitaker, but you also have Kaylin Brown coming on. And even with that said, even with it being Arkansas, I'm going to shock you all. I'm going with Georgia. They won at the SEC meet. I still think they got more in the tank. They have the number 4 nationally ranked runner in Dejanay Oakley. So, you know, Arkansas is 2-3, but Georgia is 1-4. And I trust Aaliyah Butler on the anchor over everybody that they have in Arkansas simply because of her experience and her proven performance. She's a great anchor leg. She was that way when she was at Miami Northwestern. And she's been that way since she's been at Georgia because for a while she was their only threat in the event. Her choosing Georgia and being coached by Carol Smith Gilbert was such a smart decision. Then you have the DMR, you know, where there's the potential for fireworks. I don't think it's gonna be as like the 4x4 where I just think, oh man, it's every leg for themselves. I really am confident that the leader in the house, which is BYU, the defending champ, is probably going to win it. I think Stanford and Oregon will have two very strong teams, specifically Oregon. But BYU is the number 1 ranked team and has been the defending champion and been able to hold their chest out for a while. They are BYU. They have the elements to their advantage, and I don't think they lose this event here. They'll have fresher legs. And that's because I don't think they have anyone that's on their DMR running the mile. Then you have, moving on to the field events, you have the high jump. And this is another event with the defending champion. You have Rachel Glenn of Arkansas, who I was happy to see make that major performance at the SEC meet. Because it's like, where is she at? She's got the NCAA record or tied it. And we're like, is she having an off indoor season? And she wasn't. And then you have her main challenger, Elena Kulichenko of Georgia. And then you have Jenna Riders of Nebraska, who kind of led the majority of the season and who's still, you know, a big name. But I think this event is Rachel Glenn's in a huge 10 team points for the Arkansas Razorbacks. She's having an incredible year. She stepped up into the high hurdles where she was able to score at the SEC meet. Again, Arkansas is just that all around team. And now the pole vault where okay, NCAA record threat again. I mean, how many times is Amanda Moore going to break it? She's broken the NCAA record in the pole vault twice. The defending champion is her sister Hannah Moore, who's also in competition here. And then you have the outdoor champion, Chloe Timberg of Rutgers. This is a bevy of an event. So many good pole vaulters. And I think this event has shifted again. We saw the comparisons from 10 years ago. FlowTrack was doing a comparison on their social media, and they showed you the qualifying marks from 10 years ago. This event has completely shifted. It's far more competitive now than I think it ever has been. I'm going to lean on Amanda to defeat her sister, although I think Hannah will be a great competition here. Amanda's on a roll. 2 NCAA records, 2 performances of over 16 feet. No one else in the field has that. So I think she's comfortably going to win. In the long jump, you have two, well, really three great long jumpers. If this was outdoor, we would really be blowing like, oh, these performances are so good. But for this to be indoor, I look forward to the outdoor and the women's long jump. Anthea Charlton in Florida, Takoria Humphrey of Illinois, and Alexis Brown of Baylor. Charlton has not lived up to that great performance at the beginning of the season where I believe she broke or at least got close to the NCAA record in the long jump. She nearly jumped 23 feet. She hasn't jumped over 22 feet or leave another 22-foot jump this entire season. Outside of that one jump, she's kind of been good, not great. So we're waiting to see her get back to that level. The one thing that we can say is at this meet, the Florida jumpers normally show up. Takoria Humphrey of Illinois, being coached by Petros, looking strong. Alexis Brown of Baylor, who left Florida to go to Baylor. That was a great decision on her part because things have turned out very, very well for her. She's also there. But I really am trusting Takoria Humphrey to walk away with it. I think this is her event to lose. The triple jump, you have Winnie B of Texas A&M. I think we can't really ignore Winnie. I think she's an outstanding triple jumper. She has great technique. Amelia Shelstrand of San Jose State, and Timmy Tope Ajora of USC. And thinking of transfers, Winnie B transferred from Oklahoma State to Texas A&M, and to me that was just great. It was smart, and that's not to knock the schools that they transfer from. It's just it's good when the transfer works well for the athlete, and she's a prime example of it working well. With no Ruta Lassamane in this event, it's really between these three, and I'm trusting Winnie B to win it all. And then you have the shot put where we have so many champions here. And then you have the new upstart, honestly. So the champions we have are the defending champion Maya Lesnar of Colorado State, the outdoor champion in Jada Ross of Oregon, and then the new upstart Kiela Dove of Houston. I will not ignore Kayla Dove's top mark that she's held pretty much majority of the indoor season. We're waiting for Ross to kind of catch up because I believe Axelina Johansson of Nebraska, who was, a name I kind of wanted to put here, but I can't ignore an outdoor champion in Jada Ross. She shows up at the championship events always. But I'm going to shock you guys, and I'm going to go to defending champion Maya Lesnar. I think she's got a point to prove, and I think she'll prove it here. I think she is going to win the indoor shot put. Moving on to the weight throw, there will be a new champion, but we have a great field here. You have Giovanna Meeks of California, the NCAA leader, Antoinette Nabwe of Minnesota, Shelby Frank of Texas Tech, who was at Minnesota last year. I think this is going to be a great weight throw competition. We're going to probably get PBs out of all three, but I think Giovanna Meeks is going to be the winner. I think she is, to me, probably the best talent within the field. Shelby Frank is the top returnee, but I just think she's been so good all season, and I don't really see her coming down from that. And then our last event on the women's side, you have the pentathlon, and this should be outstanding. Pippi Lotta Enoch of Oklahoma, I was happy to see finally live up to me constantly speaking about her on my channel. It was good to see her perform so well at the SEC meet. She got all the things together. She looked great in every event. Then you have Jaden O'Brien of Notre Dame, who PR'd at the ACC championship and still wasn't number one because it was Pippi Lotta Enoch, and Jaden is the defending champion. I'm actually going to shock you guys, and I'm going to go with Jaden anyway. I know Pippi Lotta Enoch is having a great indoor season. Jaden is the defending champion for a reason, and she's going to be my pick to be the pentathlon champion. And then I'm going to look at the team title battle. To me, it's really between two schools, but I'm going to give you three. I have it between Arkansas, Georgia, and I'm going to surprise you here with this pick. And that pick is going to be LSU. I know, shocker. The reason why I'm putting LSU here is because they have the potential to score well in the 60, the 400 relays. They actually have decent jumps. They can score enough, but I think the battle really is between Arkansas and Georgia. And I'm going to go with Arkansas winning it. They got too many. They just have way too many. We're naming a competitor for Arkansas in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 events. And they can score in almost all events. Let that sink in. I think this is Arkansas's meat to lose. And I think we're aware of that. We saw it last year, and I think we're going to get a lot of that again this year. I just think they're going to be more spread out. And so that's the preview show. I will be keeping track. Keep your eyes on your social media. You can watch the NCAA Indoor Championships on ESPN Plus. There will be a full recap of the meet Sunday on ESPNU. If you, for whatever reason, cannot afford ESPN Plus, and again, I get it, looking at the economy and streaming is expensive. If you have a phone, you can download X and all those social media apps for free. Keep flashresults.com up on your phone so you can just track as the meet goes along. Follow them on social media because they'll update as each event happens. Just stay abreast. But if you can watch it, I encourage you to do so. You also have NCAA.com. That may be a cheaper streaming option. Enjoy this meet because I know I am, and I am so looking forward to it because I just think every race, every event, every jump, throw, it all matters, and it's going to be a great meet because these athletes are peaking at the right time. And I have my picks, but I would not be unhappy if none of my picks didn't win. I would not be upset if none of them won. Because chances are if they got beat, it was by someone who did just that, who beat them with a better performance. And we've seen it time and time again, someone in an event come out of nowhere and go, we just are like, wow. The indoor meet is often sometimes a debut for some people to learn about an athlete. Like, keep an eye out for Aiden McCarthy of Cal Poly. I'm not mentioning him at all this season. He's been kind of hiding in the wings. But he'll be there. And so will Tanada Matsatsa. So thank you for listening, and please like, share, subscribe, comment. I look to engage with you, and we'll be here again either Sunday or Monday to do an amazing recap.